Brandon, the team that should go all out to trade for Deshaun Watson is blank.
This team has everything they need to get this deal done. They also have everything they need to have a successful year next year. They got 2 first-rounders, 1 second-rounder, 2 third-rounders, and they have a ton of cap space. This team is the New York Jets. This team right here can get the deal done. And Deshaun, you also got to think about your brand. You know, they keep talking about you being the next Michael Jordan. They keep talking about you being a superstar, potentially being a top 3, top 4 quarterback now. What better market, what other market can you go into to get that done? This is New York, baby. The #1 media market in the world. Let's go, Deshaun. There's no other team out there ready for you besides the Jets. Let's go.
Listen, I'd love to have Deshaun in New York as well. And if he came here, Brandon, he'd be right there with you and me at Nets games. You already said you bought the courtside tickets. I'm sure you can afford a 3rd one. It'd be great. But Deshaun ain't winning a Super Bowl with the Jets next year. He could, and I think would be the overwhelming favorite to win a Super Bowl with the Niners. Deshaun Watson with Kyle Shanahan, with Kittle back, with Bosa back, even though they just lost their D coordinator. That is the perfect fit. The Niners could trade Garoppolo and get some of the draft compensation back that they would need to then go trade for Deshaun. I think the best case for him is to go to San Francisco. That offense, those weapons, that coach. I think the Niners would be the most terrifying team in the league if they acquired Deshaun Watson.
Look, I like that take, and if you want to trade Garoppolo to New England for something and put that in a deal, that makes sense. But Nick Caserio needs to have earmuffs here. There is no package deal that you are going to get that is going to replace Deshaun Watson. And Nick Caserio, Brandon, who spent his entire career with the Patriots, the most recent part of his career with the Patriots, has seen the success of a franchise with a franchise QB. And now the Patriots are sitting at home, and their franchise QB is 1 game away from the Super Bowl. So don't tell me, oh, Deshaun's not returning texts. Deshaun's not returning phone calls. All right, did he return the Rolex that you sent him? Did he return the $1 million donation to his favorite charity? Did he return the edible arrangement? It's not texts and phone calls, fellas. It's whatever it takes to keep Deshaun Watson in the Texans uniform.
That's right.
That is a fantastic.
They absolutely shouldn't do it. That's right.
On to this weekend's action. Old Tom Brady looked like Tom Brady of old as the Bucs handled the Saints last night. But Brandon, the best player performance from the weekend was blank.
Easy answer here. Chad Henne, one of my ex-quarterbacks, one of my 17 quarterbacks. For him to come in and play the way he played was impressive because they had everything on the line here. This is a team that can easily go back and repeat and win the Super Bowl. So for him to come in and this play right here, 3rd and 14, games on the line, and he get it done with his feet, get him within 4th and inches, and then they call old school West Coast sprint right option. Nobody would call this play besides Andy Reid, and he executed to the T. You got to go with Chad Henne because now they advance. They give their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, a week to heal up, get right, and now they can go compete against the Buffalo Bills. Chad Henne.
Obviously, Brandon has the right answer. But because he went 4-0 this weekend, he gets to go first on all these, so I am relegated to the second best answer. So I'll go with the second best quarterback performance of the weekend, which was Aaron Rodgers. #1 defense, #1 defense. Jalen Ramsey, who gives a damn? I'm still hanging 32. So Aaron Rodgers, to me, got the best performance of the weekend, controlling every phase of that game, running 1 touchdown in to boot, 3 total touchdowns. Wilds, he's my performance of the weekend.
Okay, my performance of the weekend was the disciplined ref who did not give Tom Brady a high five. Your old buddy, Kevin Wilds, one of the things that makes him your old buddy, willing to give high fives, willing to get high fives. I don't care, you're a stranger on the street, throw it up. OKW is there for you. It's good camaraderie. So the fact that this ref, who they never even get to high five each other, Brandon, even in games, if they make a great call, the refs still have to sit there. So the amount of discipline that he has, when he sees the GOAT come over and be like, hey, buddy, you're doing a good job too.
He was shell-shocked.
And you don't give him a high five. excellent job. That is just the pinnacle of performance from this referee.
I would have shook his hand.
I would have just given him a hug. Shaking his hand. I would have given him a hug. Baker and the Browns coming up just short, but they did answer a ton of questions about their future with a nice playoff run. Brandon, though, the team with the most question marks coming out of the weekend is blank.
Woo! The Saints. The New Orleans Saints.
Oh.
You guys crushed me all year. I had to sit here for months.
Tell them.
Waiting to address this. Waiting for this opportunity. Yeah. Look, I said it before the year. I said, look, they'll win the division. They'll be awesome in the regular season. And what's going to happen in the postseason? The same thing that happened the last 2 years. They implode. Why? Because you have Alvin Kamara and you have Michael Thomas, who makes up almost 50% of your offense. You take one or two of those guys out, which most teams do in the playoffs, and then you have nothing. You lose. You have Drew Brees, who could have easily won you a handful of Super Bowls. You got a defense that somehow, second half of their seasons, year after year after year, they turn into the most elite defense, and you don't get it done. So for me, it's the Saints. You got Drew Brees retiring probably. You got all these question marks around the quarterback position, and I just think they need an entire revamp of their philosophy and approach, because their football is good, but when it get really sticky in those big moments, this is what happens. So what I would do if I'm Coach Sean Payton, I would actually go get Russell Wilson, insert him, and then we'll see what happens with that offense and how they go to another level.
Lead the show.
I also agree that a lot of teams should go get Russell Wilson. Brandon keeps telling the audience Russell Wilson might be available. I don't know if anyone's going to pick up what he's dropping down. But listen, today is the day of Brandon's prophecies coming true, which is good because next Monday, my 2 Super Bowl teams are going to beat Brandon's 2 Super Bowl teams. So next Monday will be my day. But today is Brandon's day, so I'm going to go with another take of Brandon's head, which is, hey, Greg Roman, can you design an offense that'll work in the postseason? So I say the Ravens. Fact of the matter is this. Lamar got the playoff monkey off his back, and then it jumped right back on it with this play. And now with another very shaky passing performance in the postseason, real questions about, is Lamar, as I have questioned, currently the Giannis of the NFL, unbelievable, dynamic, unguardable in the regular season, but some holes in the offense and holes in the game that rear their head in the postseason. Ravens got to figure out who they want to be and how they can be that. So to me, it's the Ravens Wilds.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams. And here's some sound of Sean McVay postgame talking about his $100 million franchise quarterback. Take a listen.
I think he did a nice job, Bill. I thought he improved on last week. I think you really saw a guy that stepped in and he did what he could. I thought he made some plays. Thought he saw the field well, like I was mentioning. But he did a good job today.
He's your quarter. Is he your quarterback?
Yeah, he's a quarterback, right?
Buddy, that's your franchise quarterback. So there's something going on here. They do not like Goff. I don't know if he's going to be on the move. They try to offload his contract, but that is not the way that Pete Carroll, for example, talks about Russ Wilson. Even though Brandon has Russell Wilson out of Seattle, it's the biggest story we're not talking about today, Jenna.
Deshaun out,
All right,
Russell
let's get
out.
back to this weekend's playoff action.
Crazy.
Bills defense shutting down Lamar, and now Nick's got a price to pay. Ketchup, mustard, all that goodness. It's next. First things first.
Guys,
It's so
we're running out of rights on this video.
MLK Day mean to you?
Everything. I'm sitting here occupying this seat, right, as a broadcaster. And I also played 13 years in the National Football League. I think if Martin Luther King was here today, he would be proud of where we're at. We had a black president, Barack Obama. He had 2 terms, 8 years in office. That's amazing when you think about his dream that he had, his vision that he had. We have black and brown people occupying amazing spaces, not only in this country, but in this world. Black billionaires. But I also think he would still be marching. I think that he would be here today still fighting for equality. He still would be fighting the injustices in our world. And he would also be fighting for just fundamental human rights. 2020 has shown us that we are not where we need to be. And I think MLK will be on both ends of the spectrum. He will be proud because of the advances we made, but he also will be marching to continue this movement of making sure that everybody have the rights that they should have and just fundamental human rights.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, Brandon. That was beautifully said. I personally believe Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is the most impressive and the most important person this country has ever produced. And I would encourage anyone and everyone, especially those with children that want to talk about Dr. King today, to set aside anything from the I Have a Dream speech and instead focus on what I think is the most important document he ever wrote, which is Letter from Birmingham Jail, which I think further illustrates and better illustrates his vision, his feelings, and the actions that he felt we are all obligated to take in order to create a more just society. Now, it's not the warm and fuzzy MLK that you hear about in school, but it is maybe the more honest MLK, and I think in this moment, the more important MLK. So as much as we love that image of him standing on the National Mall that we have in the bottom corner, delivering that uplifting speech, a letter he wrote, not on the National Mall, but behind a jail cell,